call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you all for coming to our regular meeting on Monday, November 25th. Please start with roll call.
Benson. Here. Brunick. Sarda.
Here.
Hanoff.
Here.
Minor. Here. Mosier. Here. Villanueva.
Here.
Weber. Excuse me. Mayor Schramm.
Here.
City Manager Leon.
Here.
City Attorney Denharder.
Here.
Thank you. Before you, you have the minutes of our last meeting on November 12th. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. We have our schedule of bills. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the bills? Roll call.
Mosier.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson. Aye. Brunick.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye. Bills will be paid. City manager report. Amy, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the commission. First of all, I'd like you all to take a look at your calendars and go into next year, April of next year, as a matter of fact. Our consultant, RDG, that's working with us on our comp plan, will also be working with the department heads and the city commission. And I realize we'll be in a crossover time, but I think that would be useful if we have any new elected and currently seated commissioners participate in the strategic planning process. RDG has the week of April 28th available to spend a 2-day period, a day with the department heads and a day with you all. So just curious as to what day of the week might work better for a half-day or day-long session, understanding that many of you have commitments, or if you'd rather do 2 evenings, that's probably a possibility as well. We can visit with them, so if anybody has any preference. Otherwise, what I was thinking, since Monday is a regular business night for us, that we would either do Monday afternoon or try for Tuesday. And we could tee a few things up Monday in a work session if you would have one. But I'm completely open there if anybody has any preferences.
I don't see any strong opinions, Amy.
Okay. If it's set early enough, folks can make it work, perhaps. Okay. I'll work with them and get a day scheduled so you can get that on your schedules as well. Want to talk a little bit about this week. We will be closed Thursday and Friday in observance of Thanksgiving. Garbage and recycling routes have been changed. Thursday routes will be on Wednesday. Everyone said, I can't remember. So Thursday routes Wednesday, and Friday regular routes. Transfer station is open Friday morning, I believe. So just pay note to that if you have routes on Thursday or Friday. Also wanted to remind everybody about Thursday, December 5th, we will be holding our Holiday Festival of Lights parade. So folks can take a look at the department, Parks Department website or Facebook. We have kids activities, parade at 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock we have a mayoral proclamation, lighting of the tree, and Santa will be available. So you better watch out. I hope everyone can come and join that, and I hope it's a little bit warmer than it is tonight. Also want to visit with you about a error that Finance found in the billing for Cedar Village, their water bill. That's the Lewis and Clark property, I believe that owns, it's a living facility there. We had incorrectly billed them to our benefit, so we're going to be refunding them by accrediting their account. We just wanted to let folks know that, that when we make an error, since we ask people to be honest about their errors, when we make one, we are as well. So they'll have some credit on their account, and Finance is working with them, and we'll notify them in a letter. If you have questions of me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, just a reminder that we have a regular meeting on the 9th, and then our next and final meeting of the year is going to be in December on Thursday, December 19th. To check here my calendar to make sure that's right. Thursday, December 19th at noon, but that will be here in this room. Thank you.
Any questions for the city manager? Okay. Thank you, Amy. Moving on to public appearances. This is a time for anyone in the audience to address City Commission on something that is not on the agenda. We do have a scheduled public appearance. So, Matt, if you would stand to the podium, introduce yourself. I think we all know who you are, but introduce yourself to the people watching, and happy to hear what you have to say.
Is the mic on? Yep, that's on. Okay. I am Matt Evans. I've lived in Yankton my whole life, and I have a pretty big announcement tonight that I've been waiting to say for quite some time. Worked very hard on it. Sometimes I babble on, so I'm just going to try and stick to the sheet here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, I'm here to provide an update on the progress at the Yankton Mall. As many of you have noticed, we recently completed the asphalt work for the new parking lot. Striping should be, well, he started it here this last week also. It's starting to look fantastic. We'll get some parking lot lights in there also, brand new parking lot lights. We have signed our first 3 leases and are excited to bring 3 new retailers to Yankton. Hobby Lobby, Marshalls, and Five Below are our first phase of new stores, with plans to be open for the 2025 holiday season. We have been diligently working on these deals since I spoke with you months ago. Your sales tax abatement program made these deals possible. Without your assistance, these numbers simply did not work. Thank you for helping me make this happen. It means a lot to me with all of your support. As we work to get these first tenants open this year, we are busy at work already to secure our next retail tenants. You may hear from me in the future regarding potential assistance to make the next stores a possibility. As Dave Mingo reminds me, sales tax abatement is performance-based, so if I don't deliver any new stores with the sales tax revenue, there's no cost to the city. Thank you again for all of your support in the reinvention of the Yankton Mall. We are working hard to make this happen. It will be a new and exciting offering to the community of Yankton. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for coming and sharing that news.
I did have pictures up there too, if people wanted to look at those.
Yeah, some nice renderings. Thank you.
Okay. I think there's like 10 pictures or so, maybe.
You timed the parking lot paving just right before the cold weather hit, so You planned that well.
Yep. Basically, this whole thing has been fight for a deadline, fight for a deadline. I was actually wanted to announce this a couple weeks ago, and we just had to get a few more things in order, basically. And honestly, what I'd really love to show you guys is the inside of the mall. We already have the Hobby Lobby space notched out. It's like 60,000 square feet-ish, something like that. It's massive. We already have the walls up and ready to go. So we've actually been working on it for like 2 months now inside. We'll have photos and stuff like that coming out. But we'll keep working, and me and my crew and Ben Buskirk, and we'll get it done.
Very good.
I have to say, Matt, when you came up and said that you got the parking lot paved, you could have dropped the mic and walk away.
Yeah, I don't know if this is
And I think the
droppable.
whole community would have applauded you not losing a car in the parking lot. But I just wanted to say thank you, too, for all the work you're doing on this. I don't know if folks at home can see the renderings, but if they can't, it looks absolutely beautiful, and I am excited. Thank you for all your hard work in bringing this to our community.
Yep, and thanks again, guys. I can't tell you guys thank you enough. This wouldn't have happened without you guys. Like, they dug such a big hole, as you guys know, the previous owners before, and it was definitely something to get done, but we got it done, and this is just the start of it. Honestly, we're here to fill this up, or I'm here to fill this up, basically, and bring it back to Yankton.
Can I ask, between those 3 stores and announcements, about how much square footage of the mall are those 3 going to be taking up?
So the mall's just over 250,000 square feet. Hobby Lobby is close to 60,000. Five Below is 10,000. Marshall's is like 24,000. And then we already have, basically what happens is, as soon as these first stores come in, other people want in. So we already have, letters of intent that we're trying to negotiate, stuff like that for even the next phase of stores already. We were hoping 3 to 5 years. I will under-promise and over-deliver, but my hopes are this thing's full in 2 to 3 years total. So, I mean, honestly, if I would have told you guys a year ago that we would be here, most people probably wouldn't believe me that we'd have a brand new parking lot in these 3 stores. And big shout out to Ross Denherter. We work on the weekends and the nights and whatever it takes to get these contracts done. I appreciate him so much, and Ryan Tisdale, and everybody. Like, I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you.
And we appreciate you, Matt, all the investment of energy and work and time and money. So really commend you on all the improvements, the movie theater, the parking lot, these announcements. Pretty incredible change from just a couple years ago. So thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks again. Oh,
Proud of you, Matt.
proud of you, buddy. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have no items under the consent agenda tonight. So we'll move on to the old business section. We have 2 items. Item number 1 is consideration of memorandum 24-231, which is renewal of alcoholic beverage licenses for the 2025 licensing period, which runs January 1st through December 31st of 2025. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Any discussion from the public? Roll call.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye, motion carries. Item 2 under old business is consideration of memorandum 24-254, recommending the approval of amendments to Chapter 2 of the City of Yankton Code of Ordinances. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Can we have a little discussion first on some of them?
Sure, why not?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the commission. A few things here. I'll go over some highlights, and we can go as in detail as you would like. in reviewing some of our codes of ordinances, Ross and Lisa and I knew that this one, Chapter 2, was out of date. And so we spent some time moving through each section of the code in Chapter 2, seeing where we needed to make some improvements. And we had one work session, got some feedback from you all. I'll talk about some of the bigger changes and then a few of the smaller ones. One of the biggest has to do with approval of expenditures. What we've done here is change the amounts that the finance officer and city manager have the authority to sign and approve any budget expenditures, contracts, agreements on behalf of the city, increasing that in the revision from $5,000 for general operations and $7,000 for municipal utilities to $25,000 for general operations, and prepayment authorized in the amount of $200,000 for existing approved contracts and approved vendors, including payroll and utilities. All of those, of course, are subject to bid laws, and all expenditures must be approved by you and included in the schedule of warrants. So that's an update. Another significant update is the meeting time, which is probably the item that the public will notice the most. So if you approve the changes as they are presented before you this evening, as of January 1, regular commission meetings would stay on the second and fourth Monday unless otherwise moved by you, the city commissioners set otherwise, and they would begin at 6 p.m. So a little earlier start. Have not heard any negative or much feedback either way from community members on that, other than one community member who said, if there's something on the agenda that I want to see, I will get there. So seems to me that we've been talking about this for a fairly long time and haven't had a lot of feedback. One thing we will want to talk about is how we're going to handle work sessions, and that's something like a little bit of direction on for the time when we have work sessions, if we're going to set those as needed, if we want to set them at 5 o'clock on the same Mondays or some combination. Also, the ordinance clarifies who can add items to the meeting agenda. So that was always something that was a little bit unclear and vague, and we had a practice, but we didn't have anything written in policy that was clear. And so we talked a little bit about at first having two commissioners agree, and that's seems pretty clear and easy to follow, but we've in the past had some confusion between commissioners as to what somebody meant when somebody said something to another. So how we changed it was that if a city commissioner would like something on the agenda, they can have it on the agenda. But there's some provisions that they contact the city manager or city finance officer, and we talk a little bit about what it is you want on the agenda, and is it in fact actionable, or is it a discussion item, where it goes on the agenda, and that would allow us then to schedule it accordingly. So if you come Tuesday morning and you say you want it on the Monday agenda, this provision gives us the flexibility to say we need a little time so we can do the proper research and get some information to the rest of the commission so they're understanding what that item might be. So there is flexibility there for a reasonable time frame from which this receiving information that something goes on the agenda, and I believe that's 2 meeting cycles as it stands today. So we, depending upon how complex the item or issue. So as you get into your code a little bit deeper, you see that we've also put together the business agenda a little differently. So since commissioners can put things on the agenda, we've eliminated the old business section, the other business section, because it really isn't necessary if commissioners can schedule things on the agenda to talk about with you. Most communities have some provision for the commissioners or councilmen to put something on the agenda. So those are some changes of the bigger changes. Some of the smaller changes include some clarification using the term officer versus employee. There was intended, we believed always to work that the finance officer and the city manager and the city attorney work for you. The way the old version was drafted in reality is it sounded like the finance officer worked for the city manager, which that's not really a very good check and balance. And I don't think that's how anyone intended in the practice, but it just didn't track right. So we clarified that, in fact, so she's independent of the city manager and works directly for the commission, and that's made clear in the code. Some other cleanups as well, but those were really the big changes. I do want to bring forward that I am on a committee with the South Dakota Municipal League, and we're revising the entire local government code in state statute to bring forward as a proposal. So those pertain to aldermanic forum, council forum, city administrator forum, city commission forum, city manager forum. We could end up making some tweaks as a result of what happens at the state level if that gets brought forward. But I would imagine that would be maybe not even this session, probably not this session, maybe the next session. So we have a little time there. So I'm happy to answer questions that the commission has about the changes and why we made them, specific questions about language, or if there's any suggestions, happy to talk about those as well.
I appreciate the staff's work on this. I like the changes. There's one item I'm just going to throw out there as a suggestion or for consideration. Looking at other cities, counties, and schools around South Dakota, there's one thing they do that we don't. We're probably among about 5 or 10% of the governments that don't, and that's have an actual action after the roll call of official approval of the agenda as posted. And you might say, why is that necessary? I guess the main reason I think of is that a commissioner may have a reason, he'd have to state that reason, he'd still have to get the support of the commission, but he may have a reason he wants to postpone an item, maybe to the next meeting or what have you. I think that's probably the main reason for having that on there, and we are a little bit of an outlier not having it. Just wanted to throw it out there for consideration. Again, any postponement would still require majority approval of the commission.
But so what if that discussion or that item we don't know enough about? So would it be better to have, we could always postpone it as we're discussing it, but we would learn more if we do discuss as a group, the city manager were to bring some information about it.
Steph?
Yeah, I just, I guess, want to have a little bit of discussion. I'm not necessarily leaning one way or the other, but the part where we talk about any city commissioner can get something on the agenda, I worry a little bit about what that looks like, so I'd kind of want to walk through that. And the reason I say that is because there are 9 individuals that serve on the city commission that can have 9 very separate, different directional agenda items, discussion items and what have you. And I'm just wondering, what does that look like? So if I want to get something on the agenda, I go to Amy, they discuss that it's I'm just trying to walk through what this looks like, because I could see it, maybe it won't. I'm just saying how that looks. I know before, maybe it was old school, we said, if 2 or more want to discuss it, then at least there's been some more thought put into it than just one doing that. So I just want to, I guess, understand what that looks like, and then who decides if it goes on the agenda, and if you could walk a little bit more through that, because I'm just trying to play that out in my head.
Certainly, I just need to find the exact number, section here. Oh, thank you. Lisa's helped me out. And another shout out goes to Ross. So the city manager, so in cooperation with the finance officer, and that's a change there in language, prepares the agenda and any additional information for each meeting of the Board of City Commissioners. City manager and finance officer and city attorney, each member of the Board of City Commissioners may have items placed on the agenda. City commissioners are requested to provide the agenda item in writing to the city manager or finance officer according to the administrative deadlines for the agenda and supporting documentation, if you have that, for the packet preparation. The city manager will schedule all agenda items in such a manner that staff can provide appropriate time to research the topic and provide a recommendation and and pertinent information to the city commission regarding that subject matter. The city manager will make every effort to schedule the agenda items in a reasonable time frame, and then it says a reasonable time frame is within 2 regular meeting cycles of the request. And so, Commissioner Mosier, I guess, I had a hard time kind of coming forward with this too, because we've had reasonable people on the city commission, but I know there's sometimes when things get requested that are maybe not as reasonable or not reasonable to me, but if they're important to that elected person, should we not be putting them on the agenda for discussion? That was sort of a philosophical question I struggled with a little bit. Also, thinking about the fact that hopefully people, commissioners and city managers, us currently and those going forward, police each other a little bit, and we're not afraid to say, you know, we're not going to put, you know, some item on the agenda. I can't think of a silly topic now, but if it's not worthwhile or it's been discussed and voted down, we're not continuing to put it back on the agenda, and enough commissioners are confident in that. There has to be trust in the city manager. If the city manager says, you know, that isn't a commission agenda item, that's something we do internally. You know, we're not going to put, for example, the police bid shift, how they bid their shifts. We're not putting that on the agenda. That's not of the purview of the city commission. So there has to be trust that there's going to be some things that the city manager, whether it be me or someone else in the future, says no to. And if no is not an acceptable answer, that the rest of the commission, once it's on the agenda, indicates, yeah, this isn't something that we're going to be talking about. So it's going to be new territory for us, but I think the city manager has to have a degree of trust in the elected body, and the body has to have a degree of trust in the manager. But we can keep it the way it is too, or that can be changed. I did talk with a lot of other communities, and they said, yep, we let people that are elected, councilmen, put things on the agenda, and occasionally we get things on the agenda that are not really things that we should be talking about on the agenda. So that's just as truthful as I can be.
Then the commission votes against those things and moves on.
We hope so.
What my concern is, you can't really say no because you're our employee, right? So that's kind of hard to say no to your to your boss, whatever you want to call it. But also, I just look at all the work that the staff could be putting in, and for 9 people to come and do this every 2 weeks, I mean, I just see it going, it could be a lot of work, where if you at least have 2 commissioners, at least there's a discussion going on there and a little bit of back and forth, and I think that's really important. And you kick the idea back and forth, and if you can't get support, you go to another commissioner, you just have that offline dialogue. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's important, so we should at least have 2 people.
And if that is the pleasure of the commission, that's up to you in your motion. I just would want that to include in writing, because I have had before one commissioner tell me, oh, I talked to Dave Sarda and he's on board with it. And then I called Dave Sarda and he's like, what are you talking about? So clarity there that it would be in writing. I think there's some concern amongst the staff that, yeah, that could happen where we're kind of chasing things that are not part of our regular work plan. You probably see more recommendations from me if I think that there are things that we shouldn't do. I probably wouldn't say no if you wanted something on the agenda. That's my personality. But I'd probably recommend the rest of the commission vote no if I thought it was something that was not necessary to be discussed at the commission level.
I really think the amount of time that would be consumed might be overstated a bit. As the city manager said, most communities, I think, that I'm aware of at least, a commissioner who's elected by the people, who is elected by the people he represents, has that discretion. If he's bringing something complete without merit, it will be dispatched quickly, I imagine. But each commissioner should have the ability to do that, I think.
I also think too that, let's not forget that there are public appearances. And so and that's part of being a commissioner as well, is you get approached by people that elected us that would like to have a discussion happen. And if we are shot down, so to speak, and are not able to get something on the commission, that person can surely come and have a discussion under public appearances, where then we can have that discussion and still potentially get it on the agenda the next time. But I do think, one thing I do think too is that, again, I don't know if I think it's okay to potentially have the two, but I still think that if a commissioner, as we are elected, I also agree with Commissioner Hunoff that maybe it's okay that we have that discussion.
How do you know when to put a limit on how much time is put into an item before it does come to the commission? It could be a pretty good item, big item, and consume a lot of time, so that's what's hard to judge.
Agree, and I know sometimes that staff does staff is bogged down. They're busy. We appreciate what they do, but you're right. Sometimes you can get in the weeds and you're just spinning your wheels, and that's also a good point.
If the commission does want to change the way it's written here, I think we do need something in writing at the very least that's part of ordinance, because as it stands right now, it's just sort of unwritten policy. And as long as I've been city attorney, it's been kind of an evolving policy. So I like the idea that we get something committed to ordinance, whatever it says. So if you guys want to go in a different direction, we just need to modify what we have.
Ross, for the public, can you reiterate exactly how it works? Because I have had people question. I don't know if we obviously can talk to each other one-on-one, but we're not having any type of closed meeting. I want to make sure
Correct.
we're clear about how that works.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Villanueva. The current policy that we've been operating under to get something on the agenda is effectively, if something is brought before the commission, it must have the current support of at least 2 commissioners if it's not brought by the mayor. The philosophy for that is twofold. One, anytime you want to take some form of action, you need an initial motion and a second, and you would need, in theory, 2 people to get that far, or you don't have your discussion, or at least you can't take your action. Second of all, the mayor gets to skip that extra step because the mayor by statute has the authority to call a special meeting. So if the mayor did not have the support of another commissioner, they could just call their own special meeting to address that one issue that would be on the agenda for that meeting. So it was kind of a practical framework. Historically, that's how we've got to where we're at now. But that does not necessarily mean that's the only way or the right way to do it. And the way you see it here was designed to kind of open things up so that you guys have a little more flexibility in what ends up on the agenda. We just hope that you'd be very judicious and not bury us in lots of outrageous ideas that create a lot of research for staff.
Right, and what I want the public to know too, though, is it's okay for us to speak one-on-one or even in smaller groups, but again, that number is, I want to clarify that as well.
Sure, yeah, that's the basic rule for open meeting rules. The commission can discuss in groups of up to 4. So you guys can and are encouraged to discuss city business with each other. You just have to be very careful that they're smaller group discussions or one-on-one discussions to keep yourselves and the city out of trouble.
And no decisions are being made.
Correct.
So the key word that I just want to emphasize that Ross just said was hope. I feel like we're a pretty moderate and reliable body that can communicate with each other and with the staff well, but as we know, we're elected and we are not always going to be sitting in these seats. So my 2 cents would be that hope is great, but times change, and having at least a 2-person vetting before it gets to the city manager or city finance officer, in my mind, is a good practice to keep some of the stuff that maybe shouldn't be on the agenda off the agenda.
And I think, Mayor Schramm, if I could clarify too, I mean, that's part of why I guess I got there and having served as long as some of us have, we do strategic planning, because strategic planning is basically the city commission putting priorities for the city employees and, especially the 3 individuals that report to the city commission, basically setting what we want them to focus on outside of meetings, staff personnel, obviously, it takes up a big time. And then what are the big things we want them working on? And I guess that's where I just had a small concern. Again, you're right. There's 9 of us. I don't think it's been an issue yet, obviously, partly because maybe of the way it was written. But I just worry about, I guess, more so if we start pulling staff away from, as a collective body and on behalf of our community, we make the decision how we want, what are the priorities for the next 5 years. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to get to an employee evaluation and we're going to say, Amy, why isn't this done? And she can say, well, it wasn't done because I had 10 different requests this year from commissioners that took X, Y, Z, which then didn't give me the time to complete that task. And I guess if everybody's okay with that and we put a strategic plan in place, understanding it may or may not get accomplished depending on what the commission wants to bring forth as well, then that's fine. But I think that was kind of the premise behind it is, is this something we want to take away from the day-to-day operations and a strategic plan that we decided on as a strategic body? So part of me feels like that's kind of where it came from, but I guess I wanted to say that too.
So if we put have 2 commissioners put something on the agenda and we change the wording there to the 2 commissioners, I do think we have to add the other business back on to create a stage for someone to present an idea. But I do like the idea of having 2, because if I'm talking to someone in the community and they're like-minded to me, something might sound really good. But if I'm talking to Amy about it and she seems hesitant, I might just be like, oh, she doesn't like my idea. But if I'm talking to other commissioners, I may realize that I'm not thinking about it properly, or may not have some history that could be really helpful to the conversation. So I like the idea of 2 commissioners and adding other business back on.
So in that scenario, Commissioner Benson, we'd probably change the language, if that's what the commission's pleasure is that the city manager, finance officer, city attorney, and 2 members of the board of city commissioners may have an item placed on the agenda. 2 city commissioners are requested to provide the agenda item in writing to the city manager or city finance officer. So that would be the language change if we did that. And then we would leave the other business, and that's in section, where we have the agenda listed is in section 2.36. So we've taken that out, but we would include that back in so that that function could still occur.
I'd also like to add, again, I would encourage all the people that we serve, our public, that if you have something that you want to talk about, I would love to see this commission chamber full every time we have a meeting, but obviously that's not the case. But please come and make your voice heard here.
The only issue that I have with, so I understand the 2 commissioners. And I absolutely agree with the other, that if we were to do 2 commissioners, that we absolutely have to have a place for somebody to be able to bring something forward. Okay. The only issue that I have with other is that you can really get caught off guard with something that comes in, and then we're having a discussion and you haven't been able to think that out. The person who brings it forward has thought it out, but, there's times that you can just get caught. I haven't ever thought of that before. And it's nice to have a little bit more time trying to, trying to decipher how you feel about something. That is one of the nice things about having it on the agenda, is that you do have a little bit more time to think about it and consider it. That would be my only thing is that you can get caught a little flat-footed when somebody brings it up, and then we're having a discussion, but you haven't really thought of it beforehand. I know that's just a viewpoint that I have that I've had in the past.
I agree with everything you just said, and I remember the example where I tried to discuss possibly making Native American Day a official city holiday, and I kind of got my hand slapped a little bit afterwards for saying I talked too long about other business should be very brief, and I didn't think I had, but the point is, if it's on the agenda, everybody has a chance to prepare themselves for the issue.
Ross, do you want to add some clarity?
Yeah, and the comments from Brian are well received. One of the issue that we have is under the open meetings rules, we are limited to discussing city business that's on the published agenda. So in order to stay within the lane, if you will, for what we can talk about that's not on the agenda, what I think, if this is the way the commission would like to go, how I anticipate adjusting that is to make it very clear that's a point on the agenda to solicit interest to discuss something at a future meeting. So it's, do I have at least one other commissioner that is also interested in talking about this at the next meeting or whenever we can get it scheduled, rather than getting into the merits of the actual question to be decided, is there interest in talking about that thing? So it's a delicate dance because I want to try to keep you guys out of trouble. If you get too far down into the weeds, it starts to feel like a discussion on something that hasn't been published. And then it feels unfair. I don't want to clip somebody's wings when we're talking. It's hard to keep it reined in. So I'm going to try to write it very specifically that that's what it's limited to. And hopefully you guys will have better direction if you're trying to use that as a tool.
Well, and that's why I agree with Commissioner Benson, is that by adding that back, again, it's not actionable. I guess I always understood that it was not actionable, but the discussion shouldn't get too far in the weeds, but it was just simply to put it, if there was interest, to put it on the next agenda, potentially.
It's good discussion on this topic. Do we have a commissioner that'd like to offer a motion on this item and any language?
I would make a motion to approve it as drafted, where any commissioner can request an agenda item and have it placed on the agenda.
We have a motion. Any commissioner would like to second that item, or that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Approving the motion seconds to approve the item, the agenda item as it's written currently.
So all other, just to clarify, all other things are as recommended, Commissioner Hanoff?
Yes, I
Oh.
had just thrown out the discussion of,
Brian, can you turn your microphone on?
I had just thrown out earlier, before we got into this issue, the possibility, if the commission was interested in adding approval of the agenda to our order of business after the roll call. Like I say, it's something most communities do. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but the purpose is, if a commissioner comes to the meeting and for whatever reason, maybe somebody's in the emergency room, he wants to postpone it to another meeting.
Just so clarity, though, the motion is to approve the item 2 as it's
drafted. And so the approval of
okay.
the agenda isn't as drafted. Something we could think about in the future, perhaps.
Okay.
Any additional discussion on this item?
So we're just approving part of it or the whole thing?
The whole thing as written.
The whole thing with the recommendation as is for one sole commissioner to
As-
be able to put
Yep,
something on the agenda.
as presented in the agenda, yep.
But then this also is the 6 PM meeting time. This is everything. Yep, okay.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from anyone from the public? Okay. Roll call?
Benson?
No.
Brunick?
Aye.
Sarda?
No.
Hanoff?
Aye.
Minor?
No.
Mosier?
No.
Villanueva,
No?
Mayor Schramm.
No, the motion does not carry.
I'll go ahead and make a second motion to move forward as written with the exception of changing it to 2 commissioners and adding the other business back on.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Do we need to add clarity about adding it in writing?
That's already in there.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda item number 2 and under bold business, but adding 2 commissioners and, what was the second part? Other business back onto the agenda.
And a point of clarification, if this vote is approved, that does not make it an official passage. What you will see at the next meeting is another the newer iteration of this ordinance because it's a material change, it has to come back for what we call a second reading. It's not a third reading, it's a second reading.
Any additional discussion on this motion and second?
Again, going back to the other. So it's a non-actionable item, right? We don't have much discussion, but we do make a decision whether or not we want to have it on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
I think what I would do, Commissioner Brunick, after hearing the discussion is, under our other business right now, we don't really say much about other business. So what I would do is put, if you look at your agenda, I would put a description that's a little more detailed than the sentences we have there. Although it does say it shouldn't be deliberated, but I would say, if, in order for other business to be placed on the agenda, more than one commissioner would have to be interested in, or I don't know how exactly wordsmith it, but so it's a little more clear on our agenda what the purpose of that and intention is of that. And I think it would be okay, too, for a commission to say, we need to think about that. We need to give it some thought.
And that I have a little bit more palatable to me. What I don't want to do is I don't want it to be that it gets brought forward and, all right, we got to make a decision right now whether or not it's going to be on the agenda. That's what I mean by being flat-footed. You don't get a chance to even think about this item, but you have to make a decision. But we're not supposed to deliberate on the item also, but we have to make a decision. So that's my reasoning for. I just want to have time to be able to consider the positives and the negatives of all of these items, and then try to make the best decision going forward. And being flat-footed and not having much time to think about it is where I'm uncomfortable.
But again, we're not making a decision, correct? We're just deciding to potentially put it on the next agenda. And my only thing would be is if that is the case where it's almost tabling it, if we decide to table it, so to speak, that there be some time limit on that too. That, because we can continue to table something and we're not ready to talk about that. I think we need to make a decision if we're going to talk about it or not. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're saying, well, we can think about it. Well, how long do we need to think about it? Or we just continue to think about it? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. I think it maybe depends upon the type of idea, if it is, if it's, changing something that's really big in our organization, that's going to take more time for commissioners to think about whether it's, what time we have our work sessions. That shouldn't take 4 meeting cycles to think about. We should be able to decide if we want to put that on the agenda or not relatively quickly. So, and we'll have to practice a little bit here with the new form, if that's the route you guys go. But I think too, the staff and the city manager should be able to help navigate the conversation a little bit to say, yeah, that's a great idea. That's something that we should talk about at budget. It'd be okay if we brought that back during budget time. Or it's okay, you know, if there's another time of year where we know we're going to be talking about capital improvements, if you want to redo a certain street or see a different sidewalk, if we say that's a great thing to talk about, we're going to talk about that in our capital improvement plan. Could it wait until, you know, March, April timeframe?
I would agree, but I would say too, if I had something I was passionate about, I would be picking up the phone and talking to my other commissioners before the meeting, just to see, again, as we talked about, is there other interest in doing something like that, which hopefully then would eliminate a little bit, Commissioner Brunick, what you were talking about. Again, if it was something really important to me, I would, you know, reach out to my fellow commissioners and say, hey, I've been thinking about bringing this up, or what are your thoughts on it, to kind of do some of that legwork ahead of time. I mean, it is legal to do that, so that would have been how I'd approach it, but I know that's not how everybody wants to do it, or sometimes things maybe do come up on the spur of the moment, but that's exactly what it gives the opportunity to do there too as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I also think too, as we're not to make decisions, we're supposed to listen to all sides of the discussion while we're here in the chambers. It's obviously, we don't want to come in with preconceived notions of which way we're going to vote. But as we sit here and discuss things, especially if we have, again, love to have public input. When we have public input, sometimes that just makes you think of something that maybe you didn't think about, and just something comes up. But I don't disagree. I just think that having that potentially other is not necessarily a bad thing.
Quick for clarification on other, if somebody does come in and bring that forward, there is no public discussion, is that correct? Because it's not published beforehand, correct?
Correct. Shouldn't be.
Okay, so it's a place for somebody to bring something forward that they can publicly state that, and then if you have two people on the commission in the future, that it doesn't necessarily have to be decided at that moment, correct? That's the issue that I have, is that right now we have to make a decision of whether or not it's going to be on the agenda in the future. So.
Well, I think it could also be, and I don't mean to muddy the water here, but something for, a place for city commissioners to address something that they maybe don't need on the agenda, but they would just like people to think about. Like, for example, somebody might say, hey, I would like to think about putting more Christmas decorations in Riverside Park.
Yeah.
Would you, just something to think about, commissioners? If I were on the commission, I might say that. That's not, so I think it could also be a vehicle for that. You know, doesn't necessarily have to be a vehicle to put something on the agenda, but certainly that's how it's been treated in the past. Is they're interested in putting this on an agenda or not? But I think if the commission votes to go to having two folks, I would still look for that in writing. You know, say, and if you bring something up, Commissioner Brunick and Commissioner Villanueva says, yeah, you know, that's reasonable. I'd like to see that on the agenda. What I'd like to, then my comment would be, I would like to get something in writing from you too, that you'd like to see that on the agenda then, or I'd remind you the next day, if you want this on an agenda, I need something in writing from you.
Okay, do we all understand what we're voting for? On? Okay.
Yes, and I just want to clarify again, first of all, I did not ask this to be in the draft, but I agree with it because I think staff discovered in most communities, a commissioner can do this, and I think that's the way it should be.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any additional discussion? If not, anyone from the public? Roll call.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
No.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye, motion carries. And as Ross stated, this will be on a future agenda for the second reading. That concludes our old business section of the agenda. We'll move on to new business. Item number 1 is consideration of memorandum 24-242 and resolution 24-58 regarding the library contract between the City of Yankton and Yankton County. I see Dana heading to the mic already. So Dana, would you give us a little background before we ask for a motion?
Okay. Did I turn it on or off? Is it on? Okay. So this is just the yearly agreement that we have with the county. So they have already agreed to contribute $20,000 for our 2025 library budget. And the agreement is not changing from this current year. So county residents that live outside of city limits but in Yankton County pay $20 per household for the card, which I think is really a great deal for all the services and all the things that the library offers. And so this agreement has already been approved by the library board and by the county commission. So it's being brought to you guys tonight. And I just wanted to give you a few stats. Right now we have 907 county card holders. And we have a total of 5,705 cards. So county card holders make up about 16% of our circulation. And the county's contributing about 2% of our budget right now. So just a few stats. If people live outside of Yankton County, the cost for a card is $40 per household. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about any of those things.
Any questions for Dana? And you did handed out some information for us.
Yeah, I gave you guys each a pamphlet from the library that has some information about just the services that we have. And if you look inside, there's a section that says materials, loan periods, and fines, and there's lots of different things in there that we check out. Books are just the beginning is our motto. And so there's just different things in there that we check out, including Lego kits, NASA backpacks, museum passes, light therapy lamps, and AV equipment. And we noticed that we needed to update things in here because we also now check out toy bins, state park passes, Summit Center passes, and Huther Family Aquatics Center passes. And we have teen subscription bags, laptops, and hotspots for checkout. So books are just beginning. And then I have calendars in there too, just to show you kind of some of the stuff we have going on. We have, at the end of October, we had 357 programs that the library put on with over 9,000 people in attendance. So we stay busy at the library. We have stuff going on during the holiday break for kids and families to do. So we like to keep busy at the library.
Any questions or comments yeah, go ahead.
Dana, I just want to say thank you for all your work you're doing at the library, you and your staff. It's a wonderful place to be. I know it's very happening and just a lot of fun for the kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a great staff. They're very passionate, and they love the things that they do, and we just like to, we always say we put our aces in their places and just kind of work with the strengths that we have there. So it's a good crew.
Thank you. Okay. Can I ask for what the pleasure of the commission is on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye, motion carries. Item 2 is consideration of memorandum 24-243, recommending that the city commission authorize the write-off of $2,631.16 as uncollectible utility accounts. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is consideration of memorandum 24-244, recommending that the city commission approve resolution 24-61 and authorize the mayor to sign the addendum to the collective bargaining agreement between the city of Yankton and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees for wages effective January 1st, 2025, and grant a one-time 8-hour holiday for December 23rd, 2024. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Abstain, husband is a city employee.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4 is consideration of memorandum 24-245, recommending the city commission approve resolution 24-62, authorizing the city manager to implement a base adjustment of 4% and a one-step increase on the pay plan effective January 1st, 2025 for all regular, full-time, non-represented employees that are below the maximum of the respective pay range, and grant a one-time 8-hour holiday for December 23rd, 2024. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Public? Roll call.
Mosier,
Abstain for same stated reason.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Item 5 is consideration of memorandum 24-246, recommending input from the city commissioners regarding the rate to charge for an infant grave internment, and to approve resolution 24-59 to implement the new cemetery rate structure on January 1st, 2025. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Amy, you want to add something to this?
Yes, all of these rates have some input from the Parks Advisory Board. Last Monday, we attended the Parks Advisory Board, and Commissioner Hanoff is your liaison. He was there as well. The input from some of the Parks Advisory Board, which is not in my recommendation, was that perhaps you may want to reconsider the grave interment for infants to lower that to more of the average rate. So there's some other cemeteries in our area, and the average rate is $312.50, which is far below what we're recommending here for our rate. That said, I did have a chance to visit with Chris Bornitz, and he is our cemetery head of our spaces and places, and the cemetery is one of those spaces. And he seemed to indicate to me that in reality, the interment of an infant or a child is really the same amount of work, and in some instances more detailed and more defined, because it is a smaller space and a more difficult space. So that's up to you, but I want to pass along the information that the Parks Advisory Board brought forward when they were considering these. So they really recommended approval with you all considering this element on the infant or small child interments. Now, I did not have that information for them at the time because Chris was not with us at the meeting, so I wasn't able to provide that. So I'm just want to be clear, Mayor, with the commission, what their input was, but that is not in my recommendation. My recommendation is to keep that as is based on the information from staff.
Thank you, Amy. We do have a motion and a second.
One comment.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that, first of all, thankfully, these are pretty rare occurrences, but 650 puts us at the highest of the 9 communities, and the second highest would be Rapid City at 600. Then all the others are between 175 and 300 for an infant lot. And so it does, I understand the Park Board Commissioner who brought this up. We are certainly in the highest by far compared to the other 8 besides Rapid City.
Any other discussion on this item? Anyone from the public? Okay, roll call.
Villanueva,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
No.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Item 6 is consideration of memorandum 24-247, recommending that the city commission approve the Summit Activity Center rates, including those in resolution 24-63 for 2025 as presented. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Amy? Yes.
Thank you. So, Honorable Mayor, members of the commission, just so folks know what Commissioner Hunoff and I heard on last Monday, in regards to the Huther Family Aquatic Center, recommending no rate increase for the membership rate or daily rate, but there is an increase in the amount for the party packages that are offered at,
We're on the Summit Center.
oh,
Number 6.
well, I'm ahead of you. So let me digress back to the Summit Activity Center. No rate change for Summit Activity Center. Since we just have increased the rates, we felt like the Parks Advisory Board felt like we should see how that goes, and we're still implementing the plan from the task force, and so wanting to give that a little more time, not thinking it was fair to increase rates in November for January. So if a rate increase is planned, encourage that would be done early in their year. Excuse me, I got ahead of myself.
It's all right, we'll call on you for the next one.
Okay, thank you.
So on number 6, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm just going to take the opportunity to point out that currently, as of mid-November, we have 966 active members. That's the highest it's been in at least 5 years. And also, that does not even include city employees and Great Life members. There's hundreds of those who use the facility. And usage is a good barometer to see how busy the facility is. And we're going to set a usage record this year in terms of daily attendance. And I believe we're also going to set a record for revenue generated by the facility. So things are going well.
That's great to hear. It's a good example of ways citizens can get involved and make something change. So good job.
I'd also like to add a comment too. So I was there just the other day picking up a little one from swim practice, and I was blown away by the whiteboard in the foyer at the summit, and all the very, very cool activities that I saw on that board. I don't know if anybody wants to see me do any type of Roomba or any other stuff like that, but I just thought it was so neat that the different options, it was really, really cool, and kudos to staff there. I know I see Sarah when she's at the front desk all the time when I walk in and pick up kiddos, but again, it was just really neat to see that board full and all the different activities that people have options to do. So it was really cool.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission or the public? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunick.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Hanoff.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Mayor Schramm.
Aye, motion carries. Item 7 is consideration of memorandum 24-248, recommending the city commission not increase the 2025 Huther Family Aquatic Center membership rates or daily rates at this time as outlined in resolution 24-64. Amy?
Now I want to talk about this. What is increasing, or what's being recommended to increase, is the party packages at the Huther Family Aquatics Center, not by much, but by about $25 for each. The Parks Advisory Board had a comment on that. They indicated that they just wanted to make sure we were not losing money on party packages, and that's a difficult question to answer. We can break down, the daily rate and the cost of the soda pop and the cost of the pizza by slice, et cetera, but we would have to dig a little bit deeper to factor in the value of what it is we're getting, the percentage of revenue on each piece of pizza, each soda, et cetera. Also, there is some value in the fact that the dad or mom makes one call and it's put together by our staff, and we think there's some value to that. So we can break that down. If we break it down just by the known costs, we're breaking a little bit even on the birthday package for 8 and making a little bit of money. I think it was $12 on the package for 12. But we think we bring some value in that folks can just give us a call, and we take care of all the arrangements too. So we feel as a staff that's a good recommendation.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Steph? Oh, it's okay. Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 8 is consideration of memorandum 24-249, recommending that the city commission increase the rates for park facilities as outlined in the memorandum and resolution 24-60. Amy, you want to?
Yes, thank
a little
you,
background?
Mayor. So we're proposing some changes to all the other parks fees that associated with rentals. So we haven't done this for a number of years. So you can think about things like shelters, the Capitol building, spaces like that. The other thing we've included is the pickleball courts. If somebody wants to rent the West Side Park pickleball courts for use of a tournament, they can do that. The comment that we received from the Parks Advisory Board is that they felt that if somebody rents all of the pickleball courts at West Side Park, they should be able to get the shelter then at no charge, as opposed to paying a separate charge for that. That was just an idea that came forward. We hadn't thought of that. We had a separate fee for that. So that's up to you. But that's certainly something you can consider. I just wanted to point out the pickleball courts because that's something we're not offering right now as a rental.
What is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
Move to approve the rate recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier,
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Item 9 is consideration of memorandum 24-250, recommending that the city commission authorize the expenditure of caulking to the Huther Family Aquatic Center pool to be spent for the long-term Huther Family Aquatic Center Maintenance Fund, and authorize the city manager to sign the quote and schedule the work in 2025. In addition, it is recommended that the city finance officer make the adjustment in the 2025 capital budget. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 10 is consideration of memorandum 24-251. It's the introduction, first reading of ordinances 1086, 1087, 1088, 1089, and 1090, and established December 9th, 2024 as the date for the second reading and public hearing of recommended revisions to building code ordinances. Can I get-
Introduced.
Thank you. Item 11 is consideration of memorandum 24-252, recommending that the city commission accept the wastewater EDA project and that the city finance officer be authorized to issue a manual check in the amount of $25,000 to John T. Jones Construction Company. What is the pleasure of the commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? And for the public, roll call.
Minor,
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye, motion carries. Item 12 is consideration of memorandum 24-253, recommending that the city commission authorize the mayor to execute the attached State of South Dakota Joint Powers Maintenance and Encroachment Agreement between Department of Transportation and City of Yankton contract for state project number PT 00501328. 384, PCN 0789. I didn't know where to stop when I started that one.
I feel like you're calling Jimmy.
Wait, what's that song? What is the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think we're getting a little late in the night here. Okay. Any discussion on this item? Anyone from the public? Roll call.
Mosher,
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson,
Hi.
Brunick,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Hanoff,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mayor Schram.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 13 is consideration of memorandum 24-241, recommending that the city commission conduct the introduction and first reading. It's at December 9th, 2024, as the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1085, the second supplement to ordinance 1074, the 2024 City of Yankton Annual Budget Ordinance. Can I get an introduction?
Introduced.
Thank you. That concludes the new business section of our agenda. Is there any other business to discuss, to bring up? I about to say discuss. Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call? No, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, we are adjourned into executive session. Thank you all for coming.
So you're gonna
I should say.